I felt more and more trapped. It was just like, okay, I am venturing towards considering something like suicide. And then it's just like, well, if that is one choice, I could just choose the thing I really like doing. Let's just make the through hike thing work. Maybe we can figure something out, because the other option's like really bad. So let's go with my other option that will pause life or figure something out, or at least I enjoy it.
Welcome to Forged in Silence podcast, addressing issues men face but rarely talk about. Robbie, I'm going to hand this one over to you, my friend, to do introductions and fire this one off today.
All right. I'm taking the reins today, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It is your sleigh to drive. I'll be the dog.
Are you pulling?
Yeah, I'm pulling.
Okay, got it. Well, today's guest is a guy I've looked up to for quite a while now. His name is Jeff Garmire. He just did something so amazing. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna get the hook going here, and you gotta listen a little farther to what he just did. But Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited for our listeners to hear your story and your experiences. I know it motivates me, and I know it'll motivate some other men to maybe get out and do some crazy shit here after they hear your story. But first, we're going to start with Jeff. How are you really?
Question. A bit overwhelmed and maybe a little directionless. Yeah, I would say just, finding my way. A bit lost in the forest currently.
And I think once, we get into some of your stuff, everyone will understand why. I know I understand why. And I've had the chance to talk with Jeff before, and I asked him some questions, and it was a different podcast. We were going a different route. And when he answered some of these questions, I knew that I wanted to dig a little more. So now I get the chance, and I'm super excited and grateful that you're here. So I just wanted to start with that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we know each other pretty intimately with 1 hour publicly together, I think.
Exactly. Yep. 1 hour, then many hours of me following you. Stalking, IG stalking, and YouTube, I think.
So, Robbie, I'm going to ask you now, how are you really?
Today, I'm a bit anxious today. There's some reasons for it. I got a call last night that I had to go do some work in Wyoming, so that kind of threw my game plan for today off, and had to wake up and drive to Wyoming and do some work. Fortunately, my mom lives there, and I got to have lunch with her, and I haven't seen my mom for a little bit, and she just finished up her radiation treatment. So that was kind of a big deal to get to have lunch with her. And as I was having lunch, I just felt guilty that I wasn't working. Even though I have a lunch, I was just like having that weird guilty feeling. Then finishing up with lunch, a guy called from work and was like, "Where are you at?" And of course, my anxiety was like future tripping, like, what is this call? Why are you asking me where I'm at? And I go back. Then I get another call, like, "Are you still in Wyoming?" And it just sent me for a little loop. Like, I'm trying my best, and I took some time for me to be with my mom, and it made me feel guilty. I gotta unpack that a little more and figure that out. Then
Was that because you were enjoying yourself on work time or on your lunch, which is kind of still work time?
Yeah, and I had to drive all the way out there, and I wasn't back here in Rapid doing stuff that other people probably needed me to do. And yeah, that was that. I was at work, and I was actually enjoying myself with some personal time. So I gotta, and I'm having a hard time separating that with last week, being in Wyoming again, and 4 days of crazy work, and coming back and trying to get back into normal life after 60 hours in 4 days. Life is just, I guess I'm in that mode of, I just need to be at work. I don't know why, like just work. And then when I separate myself from that and want to be with family or have my own time, my subconscious brain's like, "You should be at work, asshole. Like, what are you doing?" I think that's where it's at. So, yeah, that's how I'm doing really. How about you, Steve? How are
Thank
you?
you for sharing,
Really?
Robbie. Ooh, I had an emotional afternoon this afternoon. And then when I got home, I I ended up with a gift from a podcast guest. I'm going to shamelessly plug Brian Venhouse Photography. I don't know if you could hear me
I'll
or
do it
not,
at
but
the same time.
anyways, Robbie's wearing it too. So it showed up in the mail. You just gotta,
Throwing deer skulls off my desk.
yeah.
Wow, that was dramatic.
Is that what that was? Wow. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So I don't know. Whenever someone shows appreciation, especially with gifts, I get pretty emotional about it. And this was a really thoughtful gift, and I'm just really appreciative of Brian and his thoughtfulness and his willingness to show up on this podcast and talk, and on top of already kind of having a little bit of an emotional afternoon, this one hit pretty hard. So I'm still in a little bit of a soft place, and that's all right. But that's where I'm at today. It's been busy. I've been go, go, go. So I'm sure a little exhaustion is kind of setting in or taking a little bit of hold, which is, I think, taking part in my little bit of lack of mental resiliency. And yeah, so I'm happy to hear. I'm happy to have you here, Jeff. Robbie knows a lot more. I caught some of your reels because Robbie shared them with me, and I was like, I would love to have this guy on the podcast. Just the way you were sharing about how you were feeling in those moments. Like, wow, he's pretty self-aware. And so just having that self-awareness takes you really far because you have an idea, at least where you're at, so you can come up with a plan on how to deal with it or not. I mean, it goes a long way. So I'm really excited to have you here, Jeff.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I think self-awareness probably goes in waves too, like quite aware sometimes and quite unaware, oblivious to yourself or maybe the outside world as well at times too. So, yeah, I think maybe I was quite aware during those times, and I think yeah, it's a cool feeling, but it's a pretty raw and interesting, emotional, unique feeling as well when you let yourself listen to your feelings rather than covering them up.
Yeah. It
Mm-hmm.
it can be hard to swallow sometimes, especially with, what you were doing. You were yourself and counting on yourself like there was no one coming to rescue you.
No, and I'm trying to push myself to my absolute limit too, and that just opens up, I mean, everything of like disappointment or surprise or pride or any emotion when you're comparing yourself to your best. It's
Yeah.
pretty wild ride there.
Yeah. Um, so Jeff, why don't you tell us let's take a step back because there's a lot more to your story than just what just happened. You got into through hiking and you've done some amazing stuff. Tell us how you got into through hiking and why you got into through hiking.
Yeah. It was in the middle of college, so I was in my sophomore year and going down an engineering path and just was like, I hate engineering. What am I even doing this? Like I can keep going down this path that I guess I was kind of expected to do for my whole life, or I could just find a way to take a pause. And I needed a really, really good reason to take a pause. And so in high school, we used to like backpack in 3 miles, fish for the weekend, backpack out, carry a rubber raft. So that type of backpacking. And then we saw this through hiker who was doing the entire Pacific Crest Trail that goes from Mexico to Canada, 2,600 miles. And it was just like, huh, that is so interesting. And I didn't think I wanted to do it. I didn't think I didn't want to do it. I just remembered that. And then I needed this pause. And so it was just like 2 weeks before I started, I just told my parents I'm withdrawing from spring semester or spring trimester, and I'm going to through hike the Pacific Crest Trail. And they're just like, wow, do you know anything about it? And it's just like, well, at work, I've been looking at some stuff. Speaking of feeling guilty at work, I was doing some research on the company time. And it was like, I think I got a little bit of an idea. I already bought my plane ticket to San Diego, and they're just like, all right. And that is how I got into it. So it was so hard. I had a 55-pound pack. It was which you really want to have about half that. I had just like bottles hanging off the side and stuff
That
like
was
that.
me. That was me when I did the 70 mile. Like, you pack your fears, right? So uh, I had about 55 pound bag, and that is what I started with. And the first day was fine. The next 3 days weren't so good until it got lighter. But man, I feel you there. Okay, keep carrying. I get it.
Yeah. So like it was objectively miserable, but subjectively it was just like, wow, all I have to do is cover the miles today. Like, this kind of sucks. My feet are torn up. My pack is really heavy, but all I have to do, I don't have to check emails. I don't have to go to work. I don't have to go to school. I just got to do these miles today. And I started really falling in love with that really simplified life over time. Like, the first week, I really wanted to do 20 miles a day or average that. So even if I'd get like 77 miles, I'd text my parents like, yep, made it another 20 miles today, or just slightly behind. But it was just this thing in my head that I had, even expectations out there. But as I got more and more into the trail, it just became a very, just simplified version of life where you're very in touch with, like, if you're hungry, if you're thirsty, you drink, and you have to pay attention to where you're resupplying to get more food and where your water source is to get more water, poke around where you're going to camp. But you're just taking care of all the most basic needs that, like, I think every person ever would agree we need to do these things. And then that's it. Like, your life kind of chops off on the hierarchy of needs, like right there. And then you just want to move down this trail. So you keep doing it, but you don't have to go fast. You don't have to go slow. You can go any pace you want. I think it just like showed me and opened up this whole new freedom of how to live, how to kind of be in tune with your most basic needs. And once you are in tune with those and know when you want to eat, not just out of habit or something, you can build on that and be more in tune with when you're angry or something. But it was just like a really big reset of, instead of every day checking my email for an assignment from a professor, it's like, no, I just wake up, I pack up, and I can decide how I want to spend my day. I can do all my miles really fast and early. I can do them later. I can do a short day. I can do a long day. I don't know. I just had never experienced that level of choice. And it really sent me from like childhood, or where you're in college and there's like a dining hall, you don't even have to cook your own food, and just like you go to class, they give you your schedule. Just you're still not, you're kind of just living on whatever schedule someone kind of gives you, and you don't have to take care of all these things. Out there, if I didn't buy enough food in town, I would be hungry. If I missed a water source, I'd be thirsty. Like, every action had real consequences. If I spent too much money, I wouldn't be able to do the whole trail. So it just helped me really grow up and realize the things that I enjoyed and what I didn't enjoy too. And that's kind of how I got into it, and why I stayed in love with it and kept doing it, is because of that feeling. And I don't know, much like maybe people who get into worse things, it's like, I haven't found another way to get that feeling. So just getting outside for chunks of time, it doesn't have to be 100 days or something, or 45 days, but even just, I live in Bozeman, Montana, and the main reason is I can drive about 20 minutes, hike a mile or two, just like camp and watch a sunset. I think that I've done that a number of times, and even make it back before an 8 a.m. meeting, of just when you like give yourself something that you enjoy looking at, then you can put away your phone and be pretty present with yourself. Yeah, it doesn't take too much to get that feeling back, but that was something just helped me grow up and helped me kind of learn about feelings. And it's been a long road since.
So you did the PCT. What was the next long trail you did through hike?
Yeah, then I went back to college and graduated because, as the boomers like to say, you always got to have a backup plan. So my backup plan was my college degree and college debt. And then I through hiked the Pacific Northwest Trail the summer after college. So I took out maybe 1,000 or two more of student loans and used that to go on another through hike, as a responsible millennial would do.
Yeah.
Experiences over money. Come on, you guys are with me.
Yeah.
So, and then I ended up taking a job in accounting and finance in Denver, Colorado. Worked for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then while I was working, I was trying to find those small things. So I climbed all the Colorado 14ers and that first summer that I lived there, and then just started ski touring, ski mountaineering, some people call it too. And then I just really kind of hated. It was like, I'm looking at like houses or a new car or buying a forerunner. It's like I am so unhappy doing all this. I like feeling like I'm getting really close to tying myself into this job in this industry forever. I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew I didn't really want that. Thru-hike. And so
How Jeff solves his problems.
yeah, so I sold my car, and this was probably the lowest time in my life too. Before I kind of decided to throw a through hike back in the mix, I just didn't feel like there was no out, or like there was very close to not being one. Like I get a house, I'm pretty much tied to working full time in Denver, and for anyone out there listening, that's not the truth. You can be very creative these days and you're never tied to anything. But 25-year-old me was just seeing all the walls closing in and doors closing, the future, and still not quite sure what I wanted to be when I grew up, but was pretty sure I was pointed the opposite direction of it. So, yeah, I sort of came up. I feel like I'm just like talking the whole time, but
That's
perfect.
fine.
yeah, so I felt like as I felt more and more trapped, it was just like, okay, I am venturing towards considering something like suicide. And then it's just like, well, if that is one choice, I could just choose the thing I really like doing. Let's just make the through hike thing work. Maybe we can figure something out, because the other option's like really bad. So let's go with my other option that will pause life or figure something out, or at least I enjoy it. It's just like, worst case, can push the bad choice further down the road. And so that's kind of how I ended up, I guess, aiming for really big things. As I tried to I did the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail in the same year. And so that was like 8,000 miles from February to mid-October. And yeah, I just kind of got a lot of confidence in maybe I can find a way to adventure or do these things. At the time, only 4 people had ever done it or something. And then just use that to build on. And that doesn't mean I didn't have to go back to finance and accounting stuff. I did for like a year and a half to just bridge the gap, but at least I just had an idea. I saw some light, some hope of like, I can get to this place. I just got to figure out how this is going to be my life. But at least I know what my end goal is.
That's pretty, like, I'm currently stuck on the part where you were talking about feeling like, because I think a lot of other people feel this, and I felt this too, like feeling like the walls were closing in on you,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're stuck in this commitment of financial burden that keeps you stuck in the commitment of the job that you don't like.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And I mean, I was there too. I made good money. I did all that. And I quit a great job, a great paying job, because at some point it felt like squeezing myself through the eye of a needle, and I just didn't fit. Like I wasn't fitting that space anymore. And that's what it sounds like you're saying. Like you weren't fitting that space anymore. And you had this passion that was over here that you wanted to figure out how to make that passion work for you, even though it kind of felt impossible or stupid. Like
yeah.
out of reach, out of grasp, because it like, how the heck do you make a career or money out of something that is, being outside and having that freedom, and you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say at the same time of feeling trapped, I almost felt like I'm making the decisions I don't even want to, like I'm too young, or I don't know enough to make these decisions. I felt
Mhm.
like it just almost felt like older me is going to not like that I made these decisions as well. And because it was just signing up for dread of the future rather than, yeah, I guess any other option. I think it is a very common feeling. And I think that's why there's a lot of vices and outlets, and some are good and some are bad. Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where, I don't know, you have to just gain back a little bit of freedom. It doesn't have to be totally quitting something, because I think you can feel this about housing or a roommate or just your boss or something like that. But I think it really comes from the lack of control. So I think that's where putting some variability and stuff, and all the sayings of like not all your eggs in one basket and stuff like that, of I took it, the freedom and the choices and creativity, back in like an extremely dramatic way. But
Mhm.
things like this, like a podcast and stuff like this, I think in my day-to-day life, that is also a huge thing. When it's just like, is this life forever? It's like, well, I can do anything I want. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, I can. I don't
Mhm.
want to change life, but you just want to make sure you're not trapped. Like, okay, I
Yeah.
could change. Actually, I don't want to. Things are good. It's just
Yep.
finding that way to feel like you got a choice.
Right.
I think society too. This is a society thing too, and I want to know what you think about this. Is we've been groomed from a young age that the white picket fence marriage, and I'm just going to say the corporate job, the engineering, the lawyer, the doctor, the dentist, whatever, has been groomed into us, and that's the only way to be something in society. And for some of us, what you're talking about, those walls closing in, is like, I don't want to do that. I just want to be outside every day. And if I want to sit on this rock for a while and eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, that's what I want to do. I don't need all these things to feel accomplished or happy or joy. But then, you just keep hearing this is what you got to do to be something in society. And it sounds like to me that you were fighting that battle when you were in Denver and those walls were closing in, and you're like, I can bite the bullet and buy a house, then I'm stuck with this house or whatever financial obligations I put myself in, or I can start finding a way out. At 25, I don't think a lot of 25-year-olds do that. I know I didn't. I let someone else, unfortunately, run me because I didn't know any better. What you said really hit me too, is like, looking back, I don't think I would have been happy with my decisions I made when I'm older. And, I was thinking about when you said that, I'm like, shit, when I was 25, I made the decisions that are now here. If I could go back and change those, not saying that I regret any of that, but it's just like your forward thinking gave you that freedom. And I really think that's amazing that you're somehow in your head, you're like, well, looking back on myself when I'm older, this is not who I want to
I
be.
never thought when I was 25, I was like, I wonder if this decision today is going to help, future me out. Like, I never had that wasn't a thought that went through my mind. Different generation too. I turned 44 this month, or sorry, at the end of this year. But like, that was never a thought in my mind. I was like, oh, I was entrenched in the path. I was doing the thing, and this is what was supposed to, make me the money and give me a great life, and blah, 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 blah. The same story that we all hear growing up, right? Like the cookie cutter way of shaping what a good life is supposed to be based on someone's version of what it's supposed to look like, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, let's be honest. I probably would have been able to not be stuck in that my whole life if I had bought a house too. So if it was
True.
Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it was less. Yeah, it was. I don't think my future self is going to like being stuck in this situation. But it was also just like, I don't think I'm ready to make a choice like this. Like, it seems like the rest of my life. I'm only 25. I don't know that I'm ready to decide, because it was everything from not that happy in Denver to begin with. It's just like, I don't know. I'm not the most responsible 25-year-old either, but I do kind of think in that grand scale a lot better than deciding to go to one more bar when you're 25. So I'm not definitely far from perfect, but I was very sure the path I was marching down was not a sustainable one. And it became very clear actually, as it became very sad and lonely and depressing of just like you can start to do whatever you want. Like there's no bad answer here. Like this is really miserable. And so it was just I found uh the happiest time in my life was doing this activity. So why don't I start there and we can just rebuild from there? There was no game plan. I didn't think I'd end up where I am or anything, but it was just like, let's start with when you were the happiest and probably things will work out or they won't, but let's just start there and then you'll just be happy for a little bit too.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. So what was you did after the, what do they call it? Triple crown?
Yeah,
Or
triple crown.
Triple crown
Yep.
of through hikes. I was going to say something else, but that's a totally different world. Same thing, but different. So you did the 8,000 miles that year. Then how do you, the high coming off that, I'm sure whatever you were feeling after coming off that, the sense of accomplishment or joy, the happiness that it brought you, how did you top that?
Yeah. I don't know that I ever topped it. It was a pretty cool year. It was very hard coming out of that because it was like, okay, I've got some ideas. I have this thing. I got a little bit of work writing for like I think I was writing for Digital Trends or something from their outdoor section or whatever it was back then. Uh, so there was like a little bit of opportunity or like hope that okay there might be something here, and I was in a bunch of newspapers across the country, like the Associated Press picked up the story, so it was just like okay, I guess people care about this. So and then I spoke at a few things and made some money and started writing a book, and it was just like okay, I can make this work. And all the time a lot of people around me were definitely laughing at me or not supporting that this was possible. So that is tough to overcome at the same time.
That's
so
how you know you're doing the right thing.
Looking back, correct. In the moment, it makes it very hard. Like, wow, is everyone except for me right? Yeah, that is a bad thing to be asking yourself. But yeah, like, okay, I'm going to write this book and solve all my problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll just give other people a little credit. Like I did have to go back to work in like I did some like small business consulting in Denver while I finished the book, but it wasn't the most enjoyable thing, but it was like, okay, this is aiding my bigger goal, my bigger shot here, and this is going to have to fill the gap. And so I finished the book, and then I guess nope, hadn't finished the book. I couldn't make it, couldn't do it. So then I quit that job after a year and a half and decided that, what do you guys think I did?
Another through hike.
Thru-hike.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'd made enough money. I felt pretty good about either writing or just turning everything over my own, like into whatever job I ended up having to do. Is like, I think I'm finally ready. I gave it one more shot or just tried to make it work and I guess be normal or something. So yeah, it just was like, okay, all the same tendencies are coming back, everything about this, because I'm billing hourly. I have to bill a certain amount a week. And if you bill 40 hours, you're definitely working 60 because no one's 100% efficient. And yeah, it's just a miserable existence. I just hated it so much. And so this was like okay, I can quit. I've got this figured out. I'm going to put everything in storage and just go for it. And so I did what's called the Great Western Loop, and it's a 7,000-mile loop around the western United States using the Continental Divide Trail and the Pacific Crest Trail. And I became the second person to do that, and that kind of launched stuff well enough. I finished the book, and then that provided some amount of income a month, and I worked at a ski resort because when I was like a little kid, that's what I always thought would be cool to do. So I did it. It wasn't like a career or anything, and at this time I'm 28 or something, so a lot of the people working are up to a decade younger than me, but it was still one of those things of like, okay, wanted to do this. This is a good time in my life. I can do that. And then I moved to Costa Rica, or I lived in Costa Rica for 2 months and was getting enough writing work and just slowly turning this passion into an actual life, I guess, career, something. And yeah, I think that's kind of where I never looked back from that. Like I've had a number of odd jobs to make it work, but I don't know, took a couple tries to fully know that what my degree is in probably is not a match for what I'm going to be working in.
So you finished the Great Western Loop, and how long did that take you?
Took 7 months, I think.
Okay. What on that you had 7 months, and you had done the Triple Crown before, so you're like building these blocks. And it sounds kind of like the Great Western Loop was a big block that you kind of found yourself and were able to make things work. Probably with some, after doing that, being the second person, you're going to get some of those accolades for that. But what happened on the Great Western Loop that may have set you in the right direction for where you are now?
Well, I think I was a little disappointed in myself for going back to my career after the first attempt at leaving it. And so I don't think it was any publicity or any moment out there, but it was just a feeling of disappointment in my previous self of like, we can do better. Yeah, I think that can be an unhealthy feeling at times, but also it was pretty healthy then of like, I'm pretty honest with myself. I probably could have done these things or tried harder. Felt like the easy way out was to go back to just a job, I guess. So yeah, I think that was a very motivating feeling. Yeah, and still not that much support or any real indication that there was anything to be made from, another through hike that only a niche number of people know what through hiking even is. Yeah, it was just that feeling of disappointment. Like, okay, there's got to be opportunities. I can just like strong arm this into working. And it was like, okay, a few people. I mean, I'm a very creative person, so that's just kind of what I thought about out there too of, okay, disappointed. So what are some things I can do? And it was like, okay, there were a few articles written about me. What if I like reach out to those writers and ask, how do you write for places? Because I have done some through hiking, so I might know some ways to write about it. And so that's kind of the thinking and what at least that mindset kind of built things because it's not a lot of people who through hike make a living through hiking or doing adjacent things. And so it's just took creativity. And when you eliminate all the stress, most of the stressors and distractions in your life, you have a mind that's really ready to be creative, I think, too.
I like that. That's definitely a way I wouldn't look at things because I'm kind of, black or white type of thing. And but one thing you did say was the disappointment, and some things I've learned is sitting in that shame for a little bit, not too long, but it's okay. It's something that it's there for a reasoning and is telling you something that you could improve on or a story. But as you know, you can't sit there for too long because then the depression and everything else will sit in. But I like that you said the disappointment that you went back and you're like, I'm going to go do this thing. And
what I heard him say was, I got disappointed that I went back to a place that was an old place of comfort. That he fell back on what he knew was gonna at least keep him okay, as opposed to just fighting for the thing you knew was your passion.
Yeah, I think you just see a lot of movies or influencers or something, and it's just like chase it with everything and overcome and strong arm it. And I swear everyone has these bumps in the road. And I think it's okay that I went back, but I think it's also okay to be disappointed, and feelings are supposed to be your compass. And so a feeling of disappointment is like, don't go that direction again because disappointment. So I think it's a very healthy feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So after, you got after Costa Rica, that was what year did you do the Great Western Loop?
Dean, my life sounds like a Mad Lib when I talk about it. And he moved to? Costa Rica.
So 18, then what was the big thing after that? How did you keep your mind engaged? How did you keep that creativity and your mind going from
I just
getting
started
boxed
going
in?
after records, I guess, on these trails. It was like, okay, I like doing this. I like doing things really far. And then it was like curiosity to, I wonder if I can do these things quite fast. And so I went after a slew of what are called FKTs, which are basically the speed records on these trails. And I just sort of went after them and it went well. I mean, I think it really helped that I really enjoyed and valued this activity of not so much running, but just movement through outside, I guess, in various ways. It could be trail or otherwise. And I think that just made it a really good way to get fit and into these. Yeah, kind of overhauled my life. It's like, how cheap can I live? How much do I need to make? Can I find a writing gig or something, some other weird way of making money to sustain that? And that's kind of what I did. Yeah, book came out and provided some money a month, and I didn't own a car. I didn't have an address. I had a laptop and I bounced between a bunch of people's houses in my tent. And so it's actually, I need to remember that more. It is a crazy period of my life. And yeah, it was just like, okay, bet on myself, go after these. I think I can get some of these. And that's kind of where it went. And then so I'd try to get a record, and then so let's say got a record. So I did and got the record on the Arizona Trail, and it'd be like, okay, well, probably like backpacker and maybe outside or something will cover it. And it's like, well, I could just pitch them that I'm writing the article about myself and make some money and basically pay for the entire record attempt too. So that's kind of the creativity or how I thought about it, and then built from there, and then eventually moved out to Bozeman, and then the pandemic hit.
Time to get back outside.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't know what to do.
So it's like you became an entrepreneur for yourself through your movement.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, writing, movement, anything I could do with the skills that I didn't go to school for.
I think I find that, motivational because we kind of share the same love for the outdoors and the things we do. I think that the younger generation everyone wants to be an influencer. Everyone wants to, whatever, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, Instagram. And with those things come a certain set of rules. And there's a lot of different things, but you were like, how do I bank on myself to keep doing this stuff? And I just think that's really, really cool how you did that. Hearing you say that, I was like, huh.
Betting on yourself takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. Tons, like, because you were talking about living out of a tent, your friend's house with your laptop, and kind of, planning your next thing, or what can I do next to keep doing what I love and support what I love. I think a lot of us have lost that in life.
Yeah, I think it's very connected back to 2016 when you feel like such drastic, I don't know, just motivation to find something in your life that you want to do. And then you just kind of think back on when you're happy. And then if it's just like, okay, I felt what it feels like to not choose what I really actually want to do. So if I keep aiming at this thing I want to do and it's fun and engaging and really enjoyable, I need to keep doing that, I guess. I need to keep pointing at that. If that is happiness, I should probably keep the compass pointed that way. And yeah, I think it's also healthy conversation here too, because now I'm just thinking like, yeah, there's so many times where like zigzag on and off the route to that of like, it's really hard to, I can't just go through hike constantly in my life, but it's, yeah, just such a healthy tool to have and to know that that's what I need to point at when I'm looking for happiness. Like I can find it within this activity. And yeah, it really just comes from such a low, which anyone out there is in a low. It's really rough, really sucks, but it's also a natural thing that it's just going to come back around in an amazing way. But it's really rough when you're in them.
So you moved on to FKTs, and let's talk about the different style of FKTs, because there's multi ways to do an FKT.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's unsupported, which you carry everything you need from beginning to end, and you can get water along the way. And so that would naturally be most FKTs that are unsupported can't be over 400 or 500 miles just because you can't carry enough food to go much further than that. And then there's self-supported, so it's basically unsupported, but you can buy food along the way. You can mail yourself boxes. You just can't get any support from crew or friends or anything along the route or predetermined stuff like that. And then there is supported, which you can have a full crew. You can have people running with you. You can have people running and carrying your stuff. All you got to do is cover every step yourself, but you don't even have to carry anything if you don't want. So yeah, it's a big spectrum. The reason is because you have a crew and stuff. It's like seeing the ultimate limit if you eliminate as many variables as you can that you can do that route. And then self-supported is naturally how fast can you do it without anyone else's aid or something. And they're just two very different adventures.
And what do you prefer in doing this?
I've really only done self-supported or unsupported, so very much out there solo, and that is the enjoyment for me. I feel like every person you involve, my brain thinks of that as something that I'd feel bad about or guilty or let someone down or potential for just these feelings that are unpacked in therapy every week of, the obligation to others or something. So I've very much stuck to self-supported and unsupported adventures.
That's kind of why I wanted to hit on that, because I've worked with clients, and the big thing is when they're doing races, they worry about their crew, and I'm 4 hours late to mile 70 whatever, and my crew's waiting for me. I don't really care. And you're like, so what? They signed up for it. Like that's how it goes in these stuff. On FKTs, it's a lot more with that. But tell us about, I think this is, I could be wrong, but your creativity with the logistics, because self-supported, unsupported relies on only you and your logistics. And I want you to kind of go into your last one that you just did, like, what's your mindset when you have to sit down and, think about sending calories and shoes and socks? And
I love
what
that. Think about sending calories.
Yeah, that's all they are.
It's truth, but I mean, it's an interesting way to describe that. But when you do, how long's the AT?
22.
Appalachia, I was going to say, yeah. So, I mean, when you're going to hike 2,200 miles, calories are important.
Yeah, actually, you get tired of eating because you're having to put down 10,000 calories a day. Like, eating is your job. That's what you do. When your hands are free, they should have food in them. It's tough. Yeah, this could be a whole podcast in itself, but
I know.
Yeah,
Give us the short version.
Yeah. Everything I'm mailing myself, everything in an adventure this big and this self-supported, everything is thought of so I think of things as like ideas, and then they're either ideas or they're plans. So I have a bunch of ideas on what I'm going to eat in January, and then slowly throughout till August, I'm testing and kind of redefining what I want to do. And I'm thinking about calories per ounce. So calories per weight is basically governs a lot of my decisions out there because I have to carry all this. And so over 2,200 miles, if you can carry a pound or two extra per day, that's huge. And so that's how I'm thinking about them. And then I'm testing gear and how long shoes will last before they wear out. Like, I know all these details, and I start from this area, and in all this training too, I'm just substituting out stuff. Things are going wrong. So I'm really paying attention to problem solving and just like, what are some of the issues with, I don't know, like, does my foot get a blister at this point, this many miles into something? So it's all building out my plan for moving forward. And then I and my girlfriend and her mom helped too. We built out this big sheet. I knew which towns generally I wanted to resupply in, and then they helped me find like a bunch of locations to mail stuff to that's right by the trail, because when I'm out there, efficiency is king. I don't want to be doing a bunch of sideways miles or waiting on something, or a post office that's closed on Sunday. So it's just, so build out this sheet and then narrow that down to the towns and locations and addresses. And then I've got my whole food plan and what works over here. And I pack the food into like those from the bulk food section. You get those big bags, and those are perfect because each day of food would be in one of those, just packed, usually around 8,000 to 9,000 calories. The box would have, if I needed 2 days of food because of how the itinerary worked, it'd have 2 days of food. And if it was 400 to 500 miles after the last pair, it might have a pair of shoes. And then every box had a pair of socks. And every 300 or so miles, I had another stick of anti-chafe lube. And yeah, I think it's just like I think of it as just, you just refine, and it's just like starting any activity, hiking or running or whatever. Like your first hike might be a mile, and then your 3 miles, and then you're backpacking, and you just add layer upon layer as you figure out the last one. Like first you have to learn to walk, and then you're slowly carrying a backpack, and then you're backpacking. So that's kind of just how I apply it to everything. Of those ideas just become the plan.
Well, let's get into what your goal was for the summer, and let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, if you've been listening this long, you finally get your payoff.
Robbie, you left the hanger there pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, people were hanging around. All right, here it is. Drum roll.
Hold on. I
Yeah,
got it. No, just kidding.
I wanted to do the Appalachian Trail record, or go for it, for the past 5 years. And in November, I just decided that no year was going to get any easier or better to go for it. So this was the year. And then from then on, everything kind of was pointed at that, from schedule and training and coaching and podcast episodes and getting everything so that, and it was very different through hike too in this one, because in the past, I always wanted to like leave something, or my life was just to bounce around and do this. And this one was like, I kind of like my life. I don't want to blow up everything. And so it was like, okay, this is going to take extra work. Then I gotta cover for myself in the future. Everything from pre-recording some podcasts, doing like 8 weeks of coaching for athletes, and then hiring another coach to answer their questions and do calls while I'm gone, and all these things that were really good, because it kind of showed me that, okay, it's a pretty good thing I've built for myself, and I don't want it to be over. And also, just, I want to go for this record so bad that I'm willing to work this hard to be able to do it. It's kind of the correct use of the double-edged sword there, where both sides are like real good, you know? And yeah, that's kind of how the prep went. And yeah, we can get into the meat of the whole thing here too, with the adversity and the stories.
There was, I'm guessing things went wrong.
Yeah, a couple. A lot went right, but the memorable things went wrong.
That's how it always is, right?
Yeah, totally.
Tell us, I followed along, and, I was waiting for your updates every day, because I wanted to be there, and I was living through you. Not gonna lie, I was living through you. You got a box with 2 of the same shoes in it.
Yeah.
Let's hear about that.
Okay, so the first 400 miles are the most difficult, the most technical, the most rocky, most climbing. So my shoes are pretty beat up, and rightfully so. And then I get to my first box that has shoes in it, about mile 400, and I am so stoked. New shoes, gonna have good cushion, good foam. And I open up the box, and there the shoes are, and I go plug my phone in, because I'm gonna take 45 minutes or so at this hostel that I mailed it to, and drink like a soda, repack my bag, just kind of celebrate getting through the crux of the whole trail, at least terrain wise. And then when I'm pack up everything and I'm ready to go, and I just start putting on the shoes, and it's like, my left shoe's on, and there's also a left shoe sitting here. That was sort of like, this seems bad. in like this almost terror of wanting to be extremely efficient, it was just like, okay, I just got to get out of here. I got to start making miles. If this has gone wrong, I can't solve anything here. I just need to get going. So I put on my old shoes and just left the brand new 2 left shoes sitting on a table there. And I just hiked out and kept going. And then within 10 miles, maybe, front of the shoe ripped out and my big toe would just like stick through once in a while. So it was just like I had this toe poking up at me. Like I could see, I had toe socks on. So like my toe is wiggling. And sometimes I think it's funny. I'd be like, oh, peekaboo. It just when my toe would pop up. And sometimes it was like, yeah, this is a problem I got to solve. And so we got, 30 miles after that. And the only tool that I could, or only thing I could find there, I couldn't find any suitable shoes to wear, is I just bought a roll of duct tape and I just duct taped the entire front of the end of it so my toe couldn't pop through anymore. I carried the whole roll with me for about 100 miles to reapply. And then I made it about 150 miles and had to buy some shoes. And
We had to buy some shoes.
yeah, you plan everything perfectly, and 400 miles in, you ruin your entire shoe resupply plan. Because 2 left shoes means I packed 2 right shoes in another box.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was sort of like, okay, you made it through the hardest section, but this entire trail is going to be very mentally
How did
taxing.
that affect you emotionally?
Hmm.
Like, did it eventually start playing tricks on you?
I got in my old habit of just like, oh, you are so stupid. You're such an idiot. I can't believe you did that. So extremely negative, angry with myself, frustrated. Yeah, because what you get out there is about 20 hours in your own head to think.
Yeah.
That's why I'm when you're
Yeah.
stuck in your own head. I mean, I know when I'm stuck in my own head, the shit I can make up is pretty incredible. The amount of like level of self-loathing I can put on myself after making a mistake can be pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't try and counteract that one way or another, and when you're just stuck in your own head, there's the level of distraction out on the trail is pretty minimal. Like you can focus on the pain on your knee or your ankle or something, but like it's pretty hard to, you're looking at the big toe poking out and you're like, you gotta be like, motherfucker, like I'm trying to go for this record.
Yeah.
And I'm 400 miles in, so there's 1,800 miles to go. How in the flying F am I going to do this now? Like you got to be trying to problem solve at some point too, after you're probably after you're done kicking the crap out of yourself.
Well, yeah, I always use problem solving as my anchor. And this is like the basis of how I coach, I think, too, is if there's always something to do or some way to solve it or another thing to try that could potentially solve it, then you've still got a chance. There's still hope. There's still stuff to cling on to. And that can be from upset stomach. Have you tried green or something? Like, I don't know. It can be just the most minute, because it's really just a mental trick.
Yeah,
like you do want to solve your problem, but you want to create hope out there of, I haven't tried this yet. Cool. Maybe it'll work. Like if you have a little bit of that on top, you're going to have the self-loathing. I think, unfortunately, no human in this day and age goes through life without a little bit of it. We've all done something embarrassing, but if you at least have that anchor into the future or whatever you're working on or doing or that's bothering you, I think that's just, I don't know, essential of, okay, I'm so mad at myself and I hate myself because of this thing, but how am I going to solve this thing? What am I going to be doing that's productive? Or have I solved it? And it's like, okay, but at least it's fixed in the future. If you've solved it and you're still self-loathing, I think you're either working on it or you've solved it or it's over. Like you don't need to solve it. And I think those are really the only 3 areas that all these problems can be. And so, I mean, I've done a lot of mental work and meditation and stuff and thinking through a lot of scenarios going into all of these records. And, with experience, you know to maybe tie the shoelaces together of pairs of shoes. So this won't happen again. So now I have a strategy, but it's those mental strategies that I think are way more important than the put your keys in the fridge or something next to the thing you got to take to your friend's
Yeah.
house. Like those are cool. Like tying shoelaces together is cool and that'll save me like once in my life. But this whole toolkit of mental strategies that, I mean, I had a lot of shit go wrong out there that these mental strategies are the only way that it worked out. It's not my supreme problem solving skills. I think we can all solve the problem and still just feel hopeless like we're an idiot or don't deserve to do something. So you got to have the mental side figured out as much as the problem solving side.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we can solve the problem, but we don't leave it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or we don't give ourselves credit for solving the problem. Like we only give ourselves credit for creating the problem.
Yep.
Yep.
So when did you find the other right shoe? The two right shoes?
Yeah, like 1,500 miles later. But if anyone does want the closure of problem solving, I ordered a new pair of shoes to all the locations I'd mailed shoes to, because then I was assured at least one working pair of shoes. And I mean, I'd put so much into this,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
worth being able to go on. So I think
Yeah.
that's another thing of our generation has such bad relationship with money. I just always go back to like, how much is this worth it to me? It's like way more than 4 pairs of shoes. Okay, immediately order. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And they all get sent here to different places. I get it. Then
Yeah. No, I double checked all those addresses for sure.
Learn the lesson.
place
Yeah,
gonna is
you
this
just can't
post
make the
office?
same mistake twice.
Yeah. Is this post office going to be open when I get there, or do I have to sleep in the parking
Hey,
lot?
man, I could just imagine you order 4 pairs of shoes and they're all show up at the next marker and you're like, oh, God.
I'm like walking with shoes strapped everywhere. I got some
Yeah.
on my hands.
It might be good. Yeah, never mind. So then you, what happened with the missed shipment? How many miles were you in when that missed shipment happened? I remember, you were having some low times. There was one point where your girlfriend did an update because you were so low, I believe. That's what I got from it, anyways. I kind of go into that too.
Yep.
You just had to turn the reins over. It sounds like that was a problem-solving moment too. Like, hey, I don't want to do this. Can you give an update?
Yeah. At that time, I think I'd broken a pole, gone a little bit the wrong way on a trail, just kept kicking rocks and my feet were just, thought I had a broken toe out there. It just felt like everything was going wrong. And it was like, you can do an update if you want. I don't feel like doing one today. And so that's
That
what
was the
it
extent of it?
became. Yep. Because I didn't have social media on my phone, so I would just text my girlfriend a video and she would post it because I just didn't want
Yeah, I get it.
The distraction.
I didn't think social media would add to my experience out there.
Probably not.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, probably not.
So I didn't have that. And so I really only had communication with a few people out there. But yeah, I just was quite low, not really interested in sharing, or maybe didn't feel like I could put into words exactly what I even wanted to share. So it was just like, why don't you do it? Or if you want, sort of, I don't care. I was like so low. It's like, who cares? Doesn't matter. So yeah, I'm not going to watch these ever. So whatever, people, if you want, you can. I won't know. So yeah. And yeah, I got through it. There was a broken pole, problem solved. It was just like, okay, I can probably fix this within 48 hours. And it was like, okay, can you? And then it was like, all right, that's my new goal. Let's try to get this pole thing fixed in 48 hours. So that was a little motivating in that sense to pull me out of the low for a mental strategy there of like, let's be competitive with myself here on something no one else cares about. So it was a fun game of like, how am I going to solve this? And then about 1,400 miles in, 1,500 miles in, I show up to my resupply and walk into a lodge in Shenandoah National Park and give them my name. And they go back. And this is when you have the most anxiety because you're hoping your box comes out. Why you have the anxiety is because this time my box did not come out. And they said they didn't see it. They didn't know anything about it. And I showed them the tracking that says delivered, but that's not going to help because they don't have the box. And so then it's like frantic mode because I don't have food. I don't have a battery
10,000
pack. Yeah, I'm down to I have like 500 calories. I have a half full bag of like peanuts or something. So I'm not looking good. And yeah, it just was a pretty big low. I don't have a battery pack to charge my tracker to verify the FKT, and I'm just getting a little nervous about all these things that I don't know if I can solve all these problems. So it's feeling pretty overwhelming, pretty disappointing. I was extremely angry for sure at Shenandoah National Park mail system. I was quite angry at that. And yeah, I'd say anger was number one emotion of the day that day.
I bet. So what did you do about that? So like you have no food. You're obviously angry as hell. I would be angry as hell. Like
Yeah.
you're what, 2/3 into the way through
Yeah, I'm sleeping like 3 hours a night. So my baseline mood is not perfect.
already bad, right?
The highs are so high and the lows are so low.
That's is there much in between at that point in time, or is it just like woo? It's just a giant roller coaster.
You're robot mode or really high or really low.
Really low.
Yeah, you have
That's
nothing
it. Okay,
going on
so-
mentally or everything.
So you're angry. What do you do?
Yeah.
How do you get your calories? What are your, like, at some point you got to compose yourself to a point where did you at that point in time, did you feel like, well, fuck this is over now?
Yeah, I was starting to feel very strongly that this might ruin it because so on top of the anger and the calories and being hungry, it becomes, well, even if I can get through this, how can my body survive not having enough calories for this amount of time? Like I still got probably 2 weeks left or something at that point. It becomes, I don't know any way my body can get through this. Like there's just future problems because of this situation. And I don't know how I'm going to solve those future problems either. So it just felt like I can't fix everything. So it became a dramatic attempt to solve things. There looked like a store that was open or like a little wayside about a mile up the trail and then half a mile or maybe a mile, but a little ways, quite a ways. It was going to be like a 20 or 30-minute side trip to go try to see if the store's open and buy stuff. And I thought it for sure was open, but it was the day after Labor Day and their hours changed and it was actually closed. So pile on top of this, now I'm mad that I went an extra mile today. I still have no calories. I still don't have a solution. And I'd already planned to buy some stuff about 30 miles ahead. Or so I had like 32 miles or something. And for the evening, I didn't even have enough power on anything. I didn't have much to eat and I'm frustrated and I'm way behind my schedule because I've wasted too much time trying to figure this out and there was no solution. And so I marched on and then eventually saw there's this campground right next to the trail. So I turned off the trail, walked in it, plugged in my stuff to charge in the bathroom. And then I walked around to the campsites and asked if they had any extra food or anything. And I ended up getting like the weirdest assortment of things, but I got maybe like 200 or 300 calories of walnuts. I got a protein bar and like a half-eaten slice of pie or something. And so it was like, all right, this is my haul. My stuff is charged up enough. I can make it 32 miles. And this convenience store that I planned to buy about, I don't know, like 10 items from, I will now be buying 72. I just was like, I need to a full resupply out of a gas station. And oh yeah, I haven't been eating enough calories. So while I'm here, I have to just eat as much crap as I can to try to just fill the tank back up. And that's what I did. The problem with all of these things in self-supported and I guess decisions in life in general is they build on each other. Or consequences, I guess, of the consequence of not getting this box means that I go with very limited food for about a day and then I get a bunch of junk that I'm not used to eating. I didn't train with, I didn't practice with. It's not on the plan and fueling myself with basically Milky Way bars for 160 miles. And it was just felt really bad, but I'm trying to make these miles per day and stuff. And then, I made it to the next resupply. I got a box. There were shoes there. And got right back on schedule. But yeah, it was just a very low point because no limited food. That's a short day that day. Just don't have energy and messed around trying to find food. Then the next day, I still have low energy from the day before and I'm trying my best, but I just have everything's really hard. Likely to going for a fasted FK adventure the day before. And so that day's shorter. And then this just adds up to more and more miles I have to make up later. And that's where it just kept going of okay, I didn't have any miles to fall behind already, and look, I just did. And so that's where the low and the anger and the frustration just kept being pretty primary emotions of I guess the next 3 or 4 days of every time realize how far I'd gone that day. It was always that I wish I'd gone further, or I should be further, or something like that. And so yeah, that was pretty difficult and I'd say that was the low point of the entire thing, that moment where your box isn't there. You just know the problem with experiences is like, this is really bad for a long time then.
Yeah, you knew what you had to go through.
Yeah.
So you kept, you kept trudging on and got your resupply. There was times when I was following you where I could see, when you were recording the video, you're feeling pretty good. Then there were some times where it's like, you could see that the goal, getting closer and closer, and the time was slipping just because of the whole couple things that happened. And, you got to one point, and I remember this video. It's like, I got 250 miles to go. I just got to do a Cocodona. And I was like, fuck. Jeff has done this 5 times. Like, this is nothing now. Like, this is Jeff's in his wheelhouse. Like, he's got this. It seems like your mind had, and I understand when you do these longer things, like not this long, but once you get to a point, you're going to make it. And you can just, it's like a light switch. You just turn it on. You're like, everything is good. Sometimes those highs last a long time. Sometimes, depending, you dip a little bit. But I noticed a change there. Then can you kind of take us where that, that mind shift changed to, I got this and I just got to keep moving forward, and where you were at mentally at that point?
Yeah. I think what you saw is more self-belief than anything. I surely didn't have it in the bag, but I for sure accepted at that point that I still had a really good chance. So what drove me the whole way and keeping up going for my best was my goal was to throw down the best time that I could out there. And, sometimes I'd be checking in with where the record's at, but every step of the way, I'm trying to do the best I can the given day that I'm in. And then kind of around that 250 miles to go with neck and neck with the record or something, let's say, it was just like, okay, I have made it this far and it's so crazy, but I've still got a chance. And it just became, that is so awesome. That was my only like stretch goal of this thing of like, that would be so cool. Of course, you write spreadsheets and stuff ahead of time, but it's just like at the end of the day, if you got a chance, you did something right. Yeah, that's where it flipped. And yeah, it's funny you say they're highs and lows because they definitely persist, because a few, probably like 2 or 3 good days had like some really good days in there too. And then when I hit about 60, 50, 40, somewhere in there miles left, it just becomes, okay, I know I got like it's called a 5 to 7 hour buffer or something. I just got to do it now. And that is when it was just like, oh, this sucks. I'm just like I just have to just do the thing, but like kind of just slotted where I'm going to be. I just got to keep marching on. And it was really difficult the last 24 hours or so of this thing, I needed to end it in like 24 hours. I just have to keep going. But I don't know. I just sort of, just went full robot or something of, I don't know. It's a weird feeling. It's when you just almost accomplish something, it's almost like, okay, I'm over trying to accomplish it now or something. I don't know. It was a weird feeling.
Like you can taste the end, but
Yeah.
you're not there yet. So you still have to do the thing, but you're tired and done of the struggle. But you can you're like, okay, I've done the thing, but I haven't done the thing yet.
Yeah.
And so there's my first 14er kind of felt a little bit, and not to this extreme, but like you get to the top and it's amazing. And then on the way down, it's great too. But the last like 3 miles right?
Yeah.
It feels like forever.
Yep.
Like,
Exactly.
does this trail end? Is there an end to this? Like, I swear I've been walking the same mile for 5 miles.
That is exactly the feeling. Yeah. And anyone out there, maybe a broader example would be if you're like walking around your neighborhood and you got to pee. It's like you got to pee a little bit. Then you get closer, you got to pee a lot. And then you can see
Right.
your house and you're like, oh no, it's going to be a sprint. That is how it felt. Of like the end is right there. I can see it, but I'm not there. I have to just wait.
So what was your time for your last push without sleep? Do you remember how many hours it was?
I didn't do anything too crazy. Took like a couple half-hour naps over the course of the night. This last one, so I more did like the last week. I maybe averaged 2 to 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours a night. So it was a more prolonged push because I was more concerned about giving myself a shot at the end or getting to where I felt like I could make it happen without having to like sprint the last day or something.
Right.
That just felt really miserable too. And so I'd say the last push happened very, very late in it, but that's always my style too of, okay, you really got to go. And then it just switch flips and
You can turn it on.
yeah, you just turn off sleeping and turn on forward movement.
Turn on determination. Whatever. Screw
Yeah.
it. It doesn't matter. Like, you just get there and then you'll hit your wall at the end.
Yeah, it's like nothing matters. This water looks terrible, but I'm thirsty. Drink it. It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's the mindset.
Okay.
So you
Go
finished.
ahead, Rob.
You finished. And what was
Mhm.
your time and what was the previous record?
Oh man, I was told there'd be no math. I think it was
you-
45 days, 8 hours and 30 minutes. And then the previous time was like 45 days, 12 hours. So I think I got about like 3 hours or something.
Yeah. So you beat it. I mean, it was an nail biter.
Yeah, it was. But okay, another friend who has a number of these FKTs, he texted me like a couple days ago. He's like, "Why are you making it more dramatic than it?" Or it's like, "So you to make this dramatic?" And I was just like, "What?" Like I have like a few hour buffer, but it's like, oh yeah, no one would think this granular about it. Like I've been the one moving in my body 45 days. Like I kind of know where I'm slotted to finish, but yeah, like 4 hours is not that much. But out there it was like, yeah, I'm good. Like I got it. Like, what do you think I'd do? Take a 4 hour nap? That would be stupid. Yeah.
That's funny. So you got the FKT, self-supported. Then you were also doing it. You were raising money for a foundation, right?
Yeah. Yep. The Trevor Project. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the Trevor Project.
Yeah, the Trevor Project is an organization that provides counseling, therapy, a crisis line, a text-in crisis line really targeted at the LGBTQ plus youth, especially. And yeah, I've raised money for them in the past and other mental health organizations. And yeah, really like this one because in our current climate and news, it feels like a little way to fight back or show those who are being vilified that there's a huge community here and people care, and just mental health is pretty important no matter who the demographic or the people out there are. I think mental health, it's very interesting how almost it's advertised or it's pointed at different demographics and people too. Like often a podcast that is a sports podcast might do like better health and talk about it for men, but I think there's a little bit of a lack in that acceptance as a whole on like women going to therapy, men going to therapy, LGBTQ plus and youth and anyone. Like, yeah, it can all be like this thing that you can say you go to therapy in a conversation together. So I think that, yeah, I just like that there was a whole community. I'm sure people donated that have all kinds of different views and are in all kinds of different communities. And it was cool, along with, I think, raised like $43,000, but cool that so many people showed support in the way of donating or following along too. And it was very much a decision like, okay, I'm probably going to get a bit of a spotlight from this, but how can we make a difference that save some lives, because that would be pretty cool. And mental health is something I'm passionate and quite open about. And so that is most naturally where I connect. And also with a number of friends in the LGBTQ plus community that just felt really organic, real to me, real to my past, and really make a difference.
That's really cool that you raised that much money and did it for the mental health side of things and just getting it out there for everyone. I think that's really, really cool way of doing things. And, you finished that thing, then you did something pretty big after that too. This might be a little bigger thing you did in your life than all these FKTs. I don't know. I mean, if I'm wrong, but you proposed to your girlfriend after you finished.
It did. Yeah. Yep. It's like, how am I going to remember the date of this? Let's just do it on the finish of the AT.
I watched that. I was like, oh, this is so Jeff. This is awesome. I had tears in my eyes because it was just like, for me, it was a moment that I won't forget. And I know you guys probably won't forget it. And your fiance probably will never forget that. Seeing you in that state, completing this awesome adventure, then getting asked to, get married to you. And I just thought that was cool. And carrying the ring the whole way.
Yeah, it's a funny story. So we're up there.
At least you didn't put it in a box like at the...
I was not mailing that thing. That thing went from start to finish.
The first thought that went through my mind. It was like, glad it didn't put it in a box.
It was in with my ID, so it was like, I won't lose this, I don't think. But yeah, it was pretty raw. So finish, I get up there, take some photos, sign the book, and then our friend is actually also named Allison. My fiance is named Allison as well. But the Allison who is our friend from Atlanta, it's like, okay, do you guys want to head down? And then I'm just like, oh my God, I got to do this thing. It's like, I think I want to stay, how about 5 more minutes and just soak it up? And it's like, okay, I got 5 more minutes. And I'm trying to slyly, I've slept 45 minutes in the past 35 hours or something. So it's just I'm trying to slyly pull out my ID and credit card and bag of cash where the ring is. And then I just go for it from there. But I had to buy myself some more time.
Problem solver.
It was sort of okay, sign the thing, take a couple of photos. And then it's you guys ready to go? And that's when I just snapped into a little bit more mental clarity of no, I got to do this one thing first. What do I got to do this thing? Okay. Where is it? Okay. I know. All right. It's the bar's really low here, but you got to at least do it. Come on.
I didn't think about that. You're exhausted. You just did crazy mileage for 45 days and you got to figure out how to pull this ring out and ask someone who you love to marry.
Yeah. Yeah. And just just figuring out how to do it. I mean, every person who's done this probably knows there's a lot of nerves and anxiety and stuff. And I've been living on caffeine pills for 3 days. So my anxiety is through the roof.
Jacked.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No sleep on caffeine pills. Boy.
Yeah, my eyes are going in different directions. It's okay, rehearse this in your head real quick.
Will you marry me?
Yeah. Yeah, but I nailed it. So
you did
got the job done. It was good enough.
Got the job done.
Well, congratulations on both parts of that.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Jeff, I love this conversation. Where can people find you on social media? You have podcast. I love your podcast. You bring something different to the ultra world, I think, and through hiking now. Well, always through hiking, but you just bring something different, and I really like your approach.
Thank you.
I think there is too much gatekeeping in our sport, and
I was told I was too open recently, but I will continue.
That means you're doing it right.
Yeah. There's just too much. Yeah, I just think that we don't need all this stuff. You are a perfect example why you go do this stuff. It's for you.
Thank you.
It's for you.
If anyone's looking for a podcast where an entire month I only interview other guests named Jeff, then mine would be the one.
Yeah, tell people where they can find it.
So everything's called Free Outside. The podcast is Free Outside. The book is Free Outside. There's a movie called Free Outside. The website, Free Outside.
Free Outside.
That makes it easy. Yeah, you were smart.
Yeah, I know. I knew I couldn't remember more than one thing, so kept it simple.
Steve, you want to wrap this up?
Yeah, I have one more question for Jeff before we wrap this up. And I can imagine that once you finished, that the high was pretty high. Like you did it, you accomplished everything. And I know from my own experience with every high like that, there's a low that follows it. And there's an emotional dump that happens. And it's just depressive and it feels like shit sucks. And like for me, I know it's going to happen. And I'm very curious about how your experience was after the emotional dump. There's always seems to be like you got all the dopamine, you get all of the adrenaline, you got
Mhm.
all of the amazing good things. And with all of those amazing good things comes the crash afterwards. And I think a lot of us resort to unhealthy habits in the crash. And so, can you tell me a little bit about, did you experience that crash? And I'm sure you maybe had a plan because you've probably experienced this more than once.
Yes, I did experience the crash. I think I'm still in it a little bit, and I think it's a really difficult one. Just it's always good to give a long answer on the last question, I think, But
I think
it's
this is super
interesting.
valid though, because we always forget about what
Yeah.
happens after the
After, yeah.
amazing thing that happens in your life, or you reach a goal or whatever that is. And
Mhm.
there's a crash that happens afterwards, and we don't talk about the crash very often.
Yeah, I didn't have a good strategy for this one because it was really the thing I've thought about or been either a dream or eventually turned into a goal and then plan for like since 2011 of like that would be amazing to do that one day. And to finally do it, I think it's a pretty uncomfortable feeling of I don't really have a lot of other things that have been dreams for that long.
The
So
goal is gone, right?
exactly. So it's certainly still in it because then it's like if this big thing that a lot of things built towards and everything had to come together and then it's successful, then there's people around that are like, well, you got to capitalize on it now, or you got to do this or do that. And it's like, can I just like sit and kind of unpack what happened out there?
Yeah.
Because I'm not ready to move forward. Don't really, but I have to in some ways, like to, or else things will uh, be a little gone. So it's just like kind of getting pulled in a bunch of ways that unfortunately are like good for my future and stuff too, but also not good for me right now. It's just very, very difficult. I mean, the strategy in place is uh started planning had been planning to start up therapy and stuff again. So that's a pretty good outlet. And I think it's yeah, it's not like a great period of trying to figure everything out or having a bunch of answers and things feel very tied to yeses or nos or conversations, and that's a very uncomfortable feeling, and one text or email can shift your mood so much, but I think at the, uh, end of it or just through it, I kind of feel I don't know, like I'm just trying to value or respect or give myself some of the time, especially so when I say, like, time to unpack it, I think that's a little cliche. What I really mean is, like, I felt anger the most raw and real I have in my entire life out there. Not at
Mhm.
any person, it wasn't unhealthy, I didn't have to break something or anything, but I felt it in, like, the most adult way, which is really good, and I wanna think about that feeling. Where did I feel it? What
Mhm.
did it feel like? How like, I think these are healthy things that I wanna and then happiness, same sort of thing out there, and sadness, like, I cried for the first time in a long time, a couple different times out there. There's these things that I'm not really ready to throw into the archives kind of that's what I'm trying to unpack is the true raw emotions of these can always be those examples that the rest of my life the compass is calibrated to of like where I'm moving different ways and stuff like that. So that's been the hard thing of just like sit on the couch and go into my own thoughts or go on a walk or something. And I think that's been the biggest strategy. I'm sure no expert and it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but that's kind of what it feels like, what I've feel like I really need to do, and then what I need to do for my future self at the same time, I think.
That's like the self-awareness there
Yeah.
is so key, and your willingness to give that some respect, I think, probably takes you a really long way. You don't have to be a professional. I think putting yourself through the ringer gives you enough experience to say, okay, like these are some of these moments that I really want to cherish in a way that I think, like you said, will use as I could use maybe as a compass for how I'm going to deal with some things in the future. That rawness of the emotion and just letting yourself say, like, it's not a good or bad thing. You've said this a bunch of times. Like the anger, the frustration, none of them are good or bad. They just are.
Mm-hmm.
We label things in society does a great job of labeling sadness as a bad emotion, right? Of anger as a bad emotion, or like happiness is the thing we should be striving for. When
Mm-hmm.
in the end, all of them come and go and they all pass in their time, and we can experience them over and over again unless we come up with a solution or find our way through it, and using stuff as a compass to carry yourself through the next one until you maybe learn the next lesson,
Mm-hmm.
I think is really awesome. And that's just a great tactic just to share in general. So like the one thing that you said was finding that way that feels like you have a choice. And I think a lot of us a lot of the men out there that feel alone probably feel like they don't have much of a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we do have choices. A lot of them are hard. They feel difficult. They're tough to unpack. I can't do all of this because it's these responsibilities that are stuck on there. And I think there's ways out. And a lot of the times we just have to talk about it, and it takes courage, and it's hard. You support a project that's all about mental health and supporting that part of it. And I think, not being afraid to talk about going to therapy and getting help to help yourself see the things that are blocking you from making progress.
Mm-hmm.
It's all bravery, and it's all takes courage. And so I really want to thank you, Jeff, for coming here and sharing those hard parts and your willingness to share that vulnerability about where you sit and where you've been. It's clear that you have an ability to share what's on your heart and on your mind without too much fear. And I appreciate that a lot about you. So thank you, Jeff, for doing awesome things and coming on here and sharing that too, but also sharing like the emotional, vulnerable part too.
Thanks. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
150 plus episodes of podcasting, taught me some good words.
Mm-hmm. It takes practice, man. It takes practice. We don't come up with the language out of nowhere. It takes a lot of time and a lot of learning and a lot of getting it wrong. And
That's all of life, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Embrace it. It's okay. We all are
right,
making mistakes
100%.
all the time.
100%.
absolutely. I want to say to the men out there who have listened this far along, if you are still listening, hit subscribe, follow, do the thing. And if you are alone or you feel that loneliness and you don't feel like anyone cares, there are a bunch of people out there that do care.
Give people a
Strangers.
chance to care.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's so true. If you don't talk about it, then we don't give people a chance to care. Strangers have done a wonder for me sometimes just because they don't come with the emotional attachment, but they do and can share a lot of hope. So, Jeff, you share a lot of hope. So, thank you.